Hello and welcome to Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm Stacey Sims, and these are the top diabetes stories and headlines of the past 7 days. In the News is brought to you by T1D Exchange. T1D Exchange is a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving outcomes for the entire T1D population. Our top story this week, French biopharma company Adoja has established a first proof of concept for its Adoshell Islets implant. This was in rats, but they achieved glycemic control without insulin injections and without immunosuppressive drugs for 4 months. Adoshell Islets is an immunoprotective synthetic biomaterial that secretes insulin in response to blood glucose levels. The physical barrier here allows the implanted cells to be invisible to the host's immune system while allowing the necessary physiological exchanges to occur for the survival and function of the islets. These researchers are optimistic that their unique approach can be translated from one species to another. Can starting a closed-loop system right away help keep kids with type 1 in the honeymoon stage longer? New study says probably not. The latest findings are from the Closed Loop from Onset in Type 1 Diabetes, or CLOUD trial. 97 kids aged 10 to 17 were randomized to hybrid closed-loop therapy or standard insulin therapy within 21 days of their type 1 diagnosis. Now, I found this a bit confusing. In the standard insulin therapy groups, participants could switch to insulin pump therapy or use flash or continuous glucose monitoring or approved closed-loop systems if, quote, clinically indicated. So this isn't comparing an AID system, an automated insulin delivery system, with a dumb pump or with MDI. At 12 months, there were no differences after a mixed meal tolerance test, with C-peptide levels declining in both groups and dropping further by 24 months. Interestingly, they said glycemic control didn't differ significantly between the two groups. Moving closer to a non-invasive way to measure blood glucose, the GlucoRx biosensor uses radiofrequency technology alongside a multiple sensor approach to measure glucose levels every minute. This looks to be about the size of a Libre 3 or maybe Dexcom G7. It's said to have smart alarms and remote monitoring capability and just sticks on the skin. No wire or cannula underneath the skin. It just sits on top. The MARD is 10.4, which is less accurate than CGMs on the market now, but much better than any other non-invasive device to make it this far. In addition to measuring blood glucose, the makers say it can measure oxygen levels, respiration rate, heart rate, temperature, activity, sleep, and early fall detection. There's a lot going on here. Pivotal clinical study later this year, and then they say they will submit for European approval. Researchers at Oxford have launched the first UK study in the general population to test for early markers of type 1 before children develop symptoms or need insulin. They're offering a fingerstick test when kids have their preschool vaccinations. Very small start, only 60 kids. But these researchers say with recent, more accurate tests to check for markers early on, they hope to find more children before DKA sets in. The first randomized control trial on open source automated insulin delivery is now published in a peer-reviewed medical journal. Big news for and from the We Are Not Waiting crowd. The CREATE trial evaluated the efficacy and safety of an open source system using the OpenAPS algorithm in a modified version of Android APS. This study included children and adults and found that across all ages, time in range was 14% higher on average than in those who used commercial hybrid closed-loop systems. There's a lot more to it, and I will link it up, but this study concluded that a widely used open-source AID solution works and is safe. Congrats to Dana Lewis, who we talked to many, many years ago about all of this, and to all of the researchers involved. Back to the news in just a moment, but first, the T1D Exchange Registry is a research study conducted online over time designed to foster innovation and improve the lives of people with T1D, and they are our sponsor of In the News. But the platform is open to both adults and children with type 1 in the U.S. Once you sign up, you can complete annual surveys, you can sign up for other studies on specific topics related to T1D. Your information remains confidential. By sharing opinions, experiences, and data, you can help advance meaningful T1D treatment, care, and policy. The registry is now available. It is so simple to use. For more information or to register, just go to t1dregistry.org/Stacey. That is t1dregistry.org/STACEY. Medtronic still waiting for FDA clearance of their new 780G. It's already approved in Europe and has been since 2020. New study results put the AID pump up against multiple daily injections plus CGM. Small study, about 82 people, all with an A1C over 8. After using the 780G for 6 months, the group saw a reduction of 1.4% in their levels, with a quarter of that group dropping their A1C below 7. None of the MDI group dropped to that level. Time in range saw most improvement overnight. U.S. approval has been slowed down by roadblocks caused by a 2021 warning letter from the FDA that called out Medtronic on quality control issues at the California headquarters of its diabetes business. And finally, change at one of the top posts at Dexcom. Jake Leach moves from Chief Technology Officer to Chief Operating Officer. He's been at the company since 2004, worked on the first commercial Dexcom CGM system. He's been a frequent guest of this show, and we hope that continues. Next week, we're looking ahead to the New York City Marathon. Beyond Type 1 puts together a great team each year. I'm talking to one of the runners. He has also participated in the World Series of Poker. Which do you think is tougher on his Type 1? And this past episode is all about Omnipod 5, a panel of people who've used it for a few weeks now, and the Director of Medical Affairs comes on to answer your questions. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you got this one. And that's it for In the News this week. If you like it, please share it. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Stacey Sims. I'll see you back here soon.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.